I don't know if you guys have seen this story yet, but this is pretty crazy. A daycare was literally allowing these kids to actually beat each other up, and they was actually giving them gloves and stuff to do it while the teacher stood there and recorded it. It took a 10-year-old to actually report this. The mother claims that the teacher who encouraged the brawl have not been held to account and has released a video of the incident. Although the two teachers involved were fired, the St. Louis Circuit Attorney's Office declined to prosecute the daycare center, which remains in operation today. The disturbing footage shows the incident, which took place in December 2016, where one toddler can be seen punching another as their teachers sit there and watch. Nicole Merciel shared the footage, circulated now by local media dating back to 2 years ago. It shows children wrestling each other to the ground as they took part in what she claimed was a fight club at the St. Louis Daycare Center in Missouri. Rather than intervening to stop the violence, the footage shows two teachers named as Michaela Guilford and Tana Daly standing around the kids as they cheered them on in Adventure Learning Center.
He said that the daycare workers were making them fight, not helping them.
Disturbing video surfacing out of Missouri showing an alleged fight club at the Adventure Learning Center in St. Louis. The video, taken in December 2016, shows two toddlers fighting, the one wearing Hulk fists repeatedly punching the boy on the ground, the two teachers seen jumping up and down in excitement. The mother who obtained the video said her older son filmed it on his iPad when he realized his brother was involved in the fight.
The daycare worker, you see her walk over to him and tell him, you're fine, and like pat him on the back and then walk and start another fight with other kids.
The two teachers were fired after the incident, with one telling the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services that the children were bored and ran out of things to do before the fighting began. The daycare continues to operate with increased state inspections. In the 2 years since the Fight Club, they have received 26 violations.
He doesn't understand why his friends were fighting him, why he got beat up by his best friends.
Merciel says more should have been done. She has filed a lawsuit against the Adventure Learning Center seeking $25,000 in damages.
I want them to be held accountable, and I don't want this to happen to any other child.
The St. Louis Circuit Attorney's Office declined to prosecute the teachers, saying there was insufficient evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that any laws were violated.
It's definitely some super crazy stuff. I never trust daycares. My daycare was pretty weird. They did a lot of weird MK Ultra kind of stuff there, and every single daycare so far I've noticed has some weird fishy stuff going at it. But this is just top of the line right here. Your kid is enrolled in Fight Club and you don't even know it. Isn't that amazing? What the hell's wrong with these places? Also in the news, if you've seen the rally last night, Trump was talking about this. Mexican federal police were reportedly fired upon by two armed Honduran migrants, identified only as Jerson, 22, and Carlos, 17, near the Agnago Zaragoza in Mexican state of Chiapas this week, as the police were providing an armed security for the notorious unsafe caravan. I don't know why they keep calling it caravan. Thanks to the attackers, the .38 pistol jamming, the police officers were able to arrest the two men and remove them from the caravan heading towards the U.S. border. News of the shooting and subsequent arrests has been widely unreported by U.S. mainstream media, as the information proving the existence of criminal elements in the caravan does not support the pro-immigration agenda of the press. The shooting occurred shortly after Mexican authorities announced they were investigating the manufacturing of use of Molotov cocktails and other incendiary weapons within the migrants' ranks. Over the weekend, several clashes occurred where migrants threw rocks and used various makeshift weapons against border security forces. Americans' concerns about the security risks present in the caravan seems to be increasingly vindicated by the day. And as we have stated previously, Obama's attempt to downplay Republicans' concerns regarding the bunch of impoverished, malnourished refugees 1,000 miles away looks increasingly laughable. The shooting came after a group of several thousand migrants turned down the chance to apply for refugee status in Mexico and obtain an offer of benefits. According to ABC News, Mexican President Enrique Pena Nieto has announced what he called the You Are at Home plan, offering shelter, medical attention, schooling, and jobs to Central Americans in Chiapas and Oaxaca states if migrants apply, calling it a first step towards permanent refugee status. Authorities said more than 1,700 had already applied for refugee status, but a standoff unfolded as federal police officers blocked the highway, saying there was an operation underway to stop the caravan. Thousands of migrants waited to advance, vowing to continue their long trek towards the U.S. border.
If you've been watching the other channels lately, there is at least one thing you've learned about the caravan of Central American migrants currently marching toward our southern border. The whole thing is no big deal. These are nice people, every single one of them, much better people than you are. They have the deep moral authority that comes from living in a third world country, unlike you, Mr. Pampered Suburbanite. They're not invaders. They are future model Americans. There is nothing at all to worry about, we're told. Well, that's been the chorus from politicians and news anchors who think they're politicians for weeks and weeks now. If you have any concern at all about this caravan, you are a bad person. In fact, you, sir, are a racist.
All of this for a group of people, a lot of whom are mothers and children, who pose no imminent threat to the United States.
To call this an invasion, it might be the most pathetic invasion of a country in world history if this were actually an invasion, but of course it's not.
The president sending troops to the border to deal with a caravan that hasn't proven to be violent.
Stop saying they're monsters. They're more mothers than monsters. Don't say it. Why don't any of you say that?
There's the line of the day, more mothers than monsters. Turns out that's not quite right. More brothers than mothers, actually. According to the Border Patrol, the caravan is in fact about 70% single men. Not families, women and children, but overwhelmingly single men. According to Mexico's own ambassador, many in the group are, quote, very violent. That's what he recently told NPR. So to restate, the caravan is in fact heavily male and highly dangerous. When the Mexican ambassador says that to public radio, what you're looking at, obviously, is racism, more right-wingery. Just kidding. What we're actually seeing is relentless dishonesty from the very people who are paid to inform us. There's nothing to worry about, they tell us, like we're children. But they don't really know that. They don't really know anything. They are wholly ignorant and yet utterly self-confident. They are good at moralizing and light on facts. So who exactly is in the caravan? A lot of them probably are what they appear to be, poor people from disorganized countries looking for a better life. It's understandable. But are some of them gang members too? How about drug dealers or human traffickers? Shut up, say the news anchors. Don't ask those questions. But if you really cared about America, you'd want answers to those questions. You would insist on knowing. Would you let your kids sleep at a stranger's house? Probably not. You love your kids. Our leaders ought to feel the same way about us. They don't. Instead, they see their own countrymen as the real threat. In the minds of the people making our country's rules, foreigners are always superior to Americans. Watch Don Lemon explain.
So we have to stop demonizing people and realize the biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized to the right. And we have to start doing something about them. There is no travel ban on them. There is no ban on, they had the Muslim ban. There is no white guy ban. So what do we do about that?
We have to start doing something about them, Don Lemon says. Keep in mind that he's talking about an entire racial group currently living in this country. What exactly does Don Lemon have in mind for, quote, them? Deportation, internment camps, more affirmative action? It would be good to know. Some of us would like to tell our sons what's coming. We contacted CNN today to ask them what they plan to, quote, start doing to this dangerous group of racially defective Americans. They never replied. Maybe Lemon will be more specific about his plans on tonight's show. But without even hearing the details, it's pretty clear where the people on TV stand. They instinctively side with foreign nationals over American citizens every time. If you're wondering why they're far more upset about migrant camps in Mexico than homeless encampments in Orange County, that's why. Just yesterday in the New York Times, a columnist called Michelle Goldberg noted approvingly the Democrats can win elections in Georgia if the bad old people who don't agree with her agenda are displaced by a large group of new people who do. Her piece was entitled, "We Can Replace Them." Imagine writing something like that about your fellow Americans. Imagine running it in your newspaper. They didn't think twice, because that's how they really feel.
Yeah, the liberal media is completely sick in the head. I don't understand where they get off how these people are peaceful. and it's okay for them to invade our country, even though we already established a constitution and everything way back then, that's the time when we all decided to, hey, let's start migrating and start developing countries and everything. That's when they had the opportunity to come here. Everybody had the opportunity back then. But today's times doesn't work like that. And the liberal argument, for some reason, says it should still. But they're not arguing for all the other countries. Can you imagine trying to do this to China? Can you imagine trying to invade Russia? Can you imagine trying to invade any... What do you think would happen if we tried to invade these other countries? I think we all know what would happen. And it sure is nothing compared to how nice we actually treat people. But the liberals seem to say that we are all racist because we don't want them to crash into our border. And that's not the truth at all. They're also saying that we don't want anybody to come to our country, which that's not true at all. We welcome anybody to our country if they feel like coming through legally. They actually want to go through the legal processes of coming to our country. They're welcome to do that. That's not a problem and never was. But when you got floods of people trying to literally crash our border right now, that's called an invasion, and there's no other word for that. And honestly, this is the first time I've ever seen a president of the United States actually use our military to actually protect our soil right now. Something like this hasn't been done in so long. We've been allowing invaders to come through our borders for a long time. And what the liberals don't seem to understand about them flooding us like this is it just throws everything off. We are a country that is designed on plans and actually scheduling things and actually factoring in tallies of how many citizens are actually living here, just so we could figure out certain taxes and balances and pays and everything else. And you can't get numbers like that if you got hundreds of thousands of people coming in here every single day that you don't know about. That's going to deplete all your resources and everything that you had planned for everybody else that's already paying taxes. That's stealing from all of them. And the liberals don't see it as that. They don't see that as theft. And that's definitely what the problem is right now. But there's definitely so many red-pilled people now that actually see through all the smokescreens finally. There's volunteers now that are actually protecting the border themselves. They're actually armed with guns and they're sitting there waiting. And that right there is what being an American is really all about. It's our blood, sweat, and tears and everything that's in this country. We're supposed to protect it. The liberal logic is pretty much stating us guarding our borders is racist. But these same people that make that statement are the same ones that lock the doors at their houses and the same ones that lock the doors on their cars and activate that car alarm. These are the same people that have gates surrounding their properties. These are the same people that don't trust leaving anything unlocked, yet they want the country to be wide open. And that tells me it's just an old classic case of what's good for the goose is not good for the gander. And that's all I'm seeing here. And hell, here's that oxymoron word again. It's liberal logic. These are the same people that cry and say that we live in a super police state. What do they think is going to happen if we get flooded with people? Do they not realize that will increase the police state? Do they not realize that's going to increase the crime? Do they not realize any of this? And the crazier part is they want our tax dollars to pay for it all. They want us to pay for all this. None of the politicians care about that stuff on the Democrat side. They don't care. Why? Because they got iron fences. They got private security. They got everything that protects them from any crazy chaos that might outbreak. But there's zombie sheeple that they have mocking every single thing that they say. They don't have support like that. And once they start getting overran with all these individuals, just like what's happening over in England, just like what's happening over in Germany, they're going to all start changing their tunes really, really fast. And why let it get to that point when you can stop it right now? That's why I'm so glad that we have Trump as a president, because he is stopping this. He put his foot down. First president ever to actually want to stop this stuff. And this is why it's going to be a red tsunami this next coming up election, and it's why he's going to win again in 2020. What do you guys think about all this? Definitely leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to be able to support my channel, please just click one of the links in the description below. If you haven't signed up to my free speech platform buddy list yet, please do. Especially if you as a Gab user and you have nowhere to go right now. Website is buddylist.co. It's free to sign up. There's no ads, and we are a free speech platform. Please come by and check it out. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Please subscribe to our channel, like our video, and comment.